All right. It's been a while. It's been a while since we've done one of these videos. So we're gonna do one of these videos. Am I gonna say anything new? I don't know. Probably not for any of you who have watched every video that I've ever posted on YouTube, including the hundreds that are currently on private, but I'm gonna say it anyway, because what is life but a redundant, repetitive doom loop. Yeah, so here's the thing about thinking. I'm gonna argue here that 99%, why 99? Because that seems like a good, strong, emotional number. 99% of your problems, so to speak, don't have to do with thinking, okay? There's a thinking thing of just like you can get into some philosophy that then makes everything lighter, right? And the philosophy is going to be some version, whether it's through sort of the traditional monotheistic religious traditions, whether it's through Buddhism or just some guru, it's going to be some version of stop worrying about stupid shit, right? It doesn't matter, you know. What do you really care about? Look, it's not these sort of stupid things that you're worried about being judged for. It's really about this and that, love and that, right? Now, so that can be impactful. I can't deny the ways in which religion or some sort of philosophy, if you truly buy into it and it just becomes a part of your way of seeing the world every day, because that's just what you see, right? You see the life through the lens of Buddhism or Christianity or your guru, and that really, so often though, I will say, people seem to say that they're Buddhist or Christian or here's my guru or whatever, and it doesn't actually seem like they interact with the world through this lens and philosophy. It doesn't seem like the way they interact with me or others really is like that they're really adhering to these principles in any sort of consistent way most of the time, just based on how I've seen humans and my perception of it. But so putting that aside though, my original thesis here is that 99% of your problems, and this is just the most obvious thing, but I think it's important to take in, it's just about action, right? And it's like, now there are so many actions. Every action we could argue that we attempt to take, right? There's all these variables that we can't be aware of because there's too many and we don't know the consequences and all that stuff. And that's always going to be the case. But then there's just some simple things, right? Where we know, like, okay, based on how I dress, I'm going to be perceived probably like this. And that's a pretty fair guess. Now, you can't necessarily understand all the ways that'll impact you, right? If you get a bunch of piercings and tattoos and ear gauges and you dress in all black, or if you dress really preppy and you wear a polo and you slick your hair back and all that, right? You can't predict everything, right? There's still too many variables, too many things about other decisions you're going to be making surrounding that and other people and their decisions and their percent. You can't predict all these things. I mean, at least not with any sort of, certainly not with extreme accuracy, I would say. But there's some things, yes, you can get an idea of, oh, if I dress like this way, am I more or less likely to be hired at this place? Am I more or less likely to attract this person who is a goth or a Barbie or whatever? And that applies to other things besides the way you dress, right? The way you look in other ways, the ways that you present yourselves, the way that you communicate, all of these different things, right? So really what it boils down to is that a lot of the times we, myself very much included in this, we don't want to take chances. We don't want to exert effort and go through things that seem like they would be difficult because, well, it might not work out perfectly. And with any decision we make, even the ones that seem so obviously good, there's some sort of cost, right? That we're sacrificing some temporary pleasures or some fun things or even some actually wholesome, healthy things, right? In one regard, right? You're doing something that seems to clearly benefit you in a very stereotypically healthy way, but we could probably find a way even how it's hurting your body or mental well-being in some other way, right? Depending on the situation. The point is there's every decision, right? That there's costs to it. But at the end of the day, it really probably boils down to more like your gut, right? And what is your gut? Just kind of more or less your first thought, right? Oh, I really want this. I really would feel better if my life was a little more this way, a little bit more this way, or a lot more this way, or a lot more that way. And I really think it's almost always a choice between something that more or less resembles the status quo or being ballsy, being brave, being a little bit of a risk taker, or simply, accepting that you're going to do some things that are going to make you uncomfortable because you want to accomplish something. You want to get to a certain place. Now, yes, you could, like I said in the beginning, you could throw all of this out. You could throw all of this out and just say, well, according to my guru, according to my religion, or whatever ideological perspective that you come from, really none of that stuff matters. I just need to, the one thing that matters in life is this, and that's it. And if that's your belief, then, well, you don't need to listen to anyone's thoughts on anything, right? Because you already have the answer, and there's the answer, right? You do that thing that your guru or your religion tells you, which, like I said, I imagine you don't do anyway. But so yeah. I think a lot of us, though, we get into this pattern, right, of we don't, for whatever reasons, the fact that there is a cost, that there's no guarantee that us exerting the effort gets you exactly what you want, and that actually there could be negative consequences even to do, right? You want to get in better shape and you work out and you strain a muscle, or you're jogging on the street. You could get hit by a car, right? All sorts of things. But we then sort of go through the process of beating ourselves up mentally, full of sort of regrets and ruminations and what if I had done this thing in the past? What if I had done this now, but I'm still not doing it? It's all of this sort of useless thinking. Most of our thinking seems to be rather useless. I think thinking is fun or useful when it's fun, or you make someone laugh, or maybe that first initial thought where you're trying to weigh the pros and cons. But I can't say an exact number of minutes or hours to any given decision, but I would imagine that it's a very limited period of time where there's actually any sort of useful weighing of pros and cons of various decisions. After that, it's sort of just going down some sort of rabbit hole of, well, I really am trying to avoid this thing I'm afraid of, so how can I then justify that I shouldn't do the thing that I know I really want to do? And it's just around and around, spiraling into nothingness, and a lot of times trying to defend why the status quo is what you really want after all. And maybe that's okay. Maybe the status quo really isn't so bad. But I do think a choice should be made, right? The choice that needs to be made is either you do actually embrace the status quo more because sort of living in the present or whatever sort of philosophy surrounding that appeals to you, resonates, and that you can actually embrace it in a way that you don't need to change. You just can accept, right? That acceptance thing really works for you. And if so, that's great. But if not, then okay. Then you accept that it doesn't work, or it has limitations to the degree that it's effective. And then you got to take an action, and that's it. If you think about it, if you look for someone else to confirm it, you can do all those things, but it doesn't matter. You already know what you need to do, so just do it.